I'll never mistake the way you give me my faith. My body feels.
In today's video, I would like to discuss a very controversial topic, but before you go into the comment section and say that I'm crazy for even discussing this in a video, just give me a couple of minutes to explain my take on this topic. Before I created this video, I made sure that I had spent time with the first Descendant to understand the game fully. Right now, I have 548 hours of playtime in the first Descendant and almost have everything in the game except for Enzo's critical module and Luna. So, is the first Descendant better than Warframe? The answer to that is no, and it can be said the other way around. Okay, let me explain. The current state of the first Descendant right now is like the old Warframe, but Nexon is making some good strides in making their game better, so eventually, the first Descendant has a chance to catch up with Warframe. On the other hand, I think it's not right to compare a 10-year-old game with tons of content already to something that was only released just months ago. It's weird that we even hear some debates that Warframe is better than the first Descendant because it has way more content. This is stupid to say, knowing that Warframe is a game released way back in 2013, and it's pretty obvious that the game has way more content than the first Descendant. In addition, I really think that it's pointless to argue which is better because it's the same free-to-play looter shooter that offers an option to pay for convenience, just to get rid of the hellish farming simulator. Now, the first Descendant has an edge over Warframe because it's a new game, it just came out, and honestly, I was one of those looter shooter fans who decided to take a break from playing Warframe and try out the first Descendant because it's a new game. I like the genre, but playing the same game for years is unhealthy in my opinion, and as a gamer you crave some variety, and when the first Descendant came out, I immediately jumped into the hype train, and honestly, I like what I have experienced since it feels like I'm doing the same thing in Warframe, but in a different universe. When you are a longtime Warframe player, it's really easy to get into the first Descendant as the grind feels the same, and you have already experienced a hellish farming simulator before you even get to try this new game. And by the way, those players who are saying that the grind in Warframe is better, then you might have not experienced the old Warframe. 6 years ago, I experienced the most hellish grind in my entire gaming life, and that was grinding for the vanilla parts of Equinox, Ivara, and Vauban. For Equinox, you can obtain this Warframe by grinding an Equinox Day aspect that includes Neuroptics, Chassis, System, Blueprint, and the Equinox Night aspect that includes its separate Neuroptics, Chassis, System, and Blueprint. Then you will need to farm Telrigger to get these parts before you can build all of it. For Ivara, all of her blueprints drop from spy missions. I obtained her from Earth Spy, Jupiter Spy, and Pluto Spy. The average level of the mission determines what part you get, so it's necessary to go to at least 3 different planets for all her parts. And then there's Vauban, all his parts come from alerts, and you will need to pray that you will get lucky to get his parts. Take note, there are no prime variants for these Warframes before, and it was my junior years in Warframe. It was one of the worst grinds I have encountered in the game, and these Warframes are only a small portion of the hellish farming simulator I have experienced in the game. However, Digital Extremes made some changes over the years, and I'm very happy that they added the pity system wherein if you are unlucky to get the parts from the mission, then you will get a currency that you can use to exchange for the parts you are farming in that specific mission. Also, the grind becomes less annoying because of trading, but before, there was no trading in Warframe and it was only implemented with the game was really sinking, and one of the main factors was the hellish grind that it had. As I have said, the first Descendant feels like the old Warframe right now and has some of the worst grind from a free-to-play genre. Honestly, the developers have tons to work on, beginning with their leveling system. Right now, you can level up your Descendants and weapons within an hour, but it could be less depending on the mission you are partaking in or if you have character and weapon proficiency booster. Take note that the game also has the same leveling system as Warframe, wherein if you socket a module slot, then the level of your Descendant and ultimate weapon will reset to level 1, and you will need to max rank it so you can put another socket. In Warframe, it only takes 5 minutes to max rank a weapon or Warframe, and there are even available methods that will cut down the leveling time to 2 minutes. As a looter shooter fan, one of the most addictive parts of these games is its features wherein you create builds and combos for your character to make them stronger. I have been addicted to this kind of gameplay loop even during my early days as a massively multiplayer online gaming fanatic. The first game I ever played was Ragnarok Online, and since then, I have been addicted to games with build creation and power progression. In Warframe, it's really easy to create a new build, and since the premium currency is obtainable through trading, you can just easily farm for items in the game to sell for platinum, so you will have Forma, Catalyst, and everything you need to finish a specific build for your character. In the first Descendant, aside from the fact that you will need to spend hours leveling your character, you will also need need to farm catalysts and activators to increase the module capacity. And mind you, these materials are not as easy as picking up strawberries in the field. You will need to farm their blueprints that require tons of luck to get, and you will also need to farm crafting materials needed to build one reactor or catalyst. Right now, it will take several days just to optimize the build of one character in the first Descendant, while in Warframe, it would only take minutes, and you can enjoy your newly created build in a real mission. And worst is that they are pricing the energy activator and catalyst for real money with absurd prices just to skip the grind and play the build that you have created for your Descendant or ultimate weapons. Another thing that is greedy in my opinion is the Descendant slots. There's a limit to the number of Descendants you own right now, and the best way to avoid having insufficient slot for your new Descendant is by dismissing the normal variant of the Descendant once you have the ultimate version. However, there are cases wherein you want the vanilla for the mastery rank bonus, and honestly, you will need to purchase a Descendant slot or sacrifice a Descendant just to use the new one. Right now, a higher mastery rank doesn't provide anything valuable, and I hope in the future the developers will add the perk of increasing the Descendant slot at a higher mastery rank. Also, I would like to talk about time gating, and if you are a Warframe player, then you know how cruel this is if you want to try out a new character or weapon. You will need to wait for days to fully craft a Descendant or even a Warframe, but the latter is more forgiving as you can fully craft one by using platinum to speed up the process. And remember, this premium currency in the game is obtainable to selling items from other players. In addition, some players in the first Descendant complains about gatekeeping in the game. They are saying that it's the worst game ever since the bosses are tough to beat. Well, if this happens, then clearly you are not well geared enough to take down the boss you are facing. I really don't mind the Void Intercept battles as gatekeepers, and in fact, this is one of the main reasons why I enjoy the first Descendant. The boss battles have some unique mechanics, and there are squad wipe instances wherein your team needs to communicate to hinder the boss from doing its squad wipe state. When it comes to boss battles, I think that the first Descendant is slightly better as it's more fun compared to Warframe. It's also a great feeling to take down the boss that you are struggling against for a couple of runs, and I enjoy this satisfying feeling even when playing in public matches. Finally, I would also like to talk about the visuals of both the first Descendant and Warframe. Without a doubt, the first Descendant is better visually as it's built in Unreal Engine, but you can't say that Warframe falls into the abyss pit when it comes to this category, as even if Warframe is an old game, its visuals are just as stunning, and even better compared to other new games right now. Also, the cosmetics of Warframe is nowhere near as good as the first Descendant right now. Don't get me wrong, the first Descendant is great in terms of visuals, and I'm not saying this because of the pixel ass and boobies that the games have. Visually, it's gorgeous and the character designs as well as the environment are good. But when it comes to cosmetics, I say that Warframe is superior since you can freely customize even your vanilla Warframe without any limitations. You have free colors, and even with the base skin, you can shower your frames with any color that you want. In the first Descendant, you can only change the paint of a Descendant when you are using the cosmetics from the shop, and there's no way that you can color the base skin of even an ultimate Descendant. I'm really hoping that shortly this will change, and somehow we can use paints even on the base or ultimate version of our Descendants. Now, based on all the things that I have discussed in this video, you might say that Warframe is superior compared to the first Descendant, but again, I would like to remind you that the first Descendant only came out a month ago, and the developers are making huge changes in the grind already. Also, based on experience, free-to-play games always start like this, and developers tend to ease up the grind once they add more content to the game. Time will tell whether the first Descendant can catch up to the state of Warframe, but based on what I experienced after playing it for more than 500 hours, I think that the first Descendant has a big potential, especially since the developers are also listening to their community and making changes once their player base doesn't like what they are doing. The team behind Warframe are great developers because they listen and communicate with their community, and the same goes for the team behind the first Descendant. Also, you can enjoy both games as they are free unless you have the fear of missing out syndrome. If you are one of those players who have no time to play two grindy games, then just pick one. But right now, Warframe's grind is very forgiving, especially with the new content they are releasing. In fact, I spend more time grinding stuff in the first Descendant and usually consume Warframe content for just a couple of days. This is because I almost have the things I need in Warframe, and I already unlocked the missions which can help me level up fast or even get things that I need for crafting items. If you are new to this game genre, then I suggest that you just pick one. But for Warframe veterans, the first Descendant is a good alternative if you want to play Warframe in a different universe. So that's all my thoughts regarding this controversial topic. Before you go, I would also like to know your opinions regarding this subject. Let us discuss this in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you again in our next video. Squad Leader signing off.